Good evening and welcome to Sunday Politics on Trust TV. I'm Iliyasu Gadu. Tonight, we break down the forces shaping the road to 2027, starting with an opposition camp under pressure. Across the board, opposition parties are battling internal rifts. The latest is the Accord Party, now split after Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke emerged as its flag bearer, while another faction pushed Clement Bamigbola through a parallel Congress. The fractures raise fresh questions about unity, structure, and staying power ahead of the next election cycles. The 2077 calculations also shift in the north. The region that delivered over 60% of President Bola Tinubu's votes now shows clear cracks. The North Central is stepping forward as the APC's fresh power base. So what does this signal for a North long seen as a single political bloc? And how might this shape its future influence? To break it all down, I'm joined by Nurudeen Hummanyero, political and public affairs analyst. Nurudeen, you are welcome to this program.
Thank you very much.
So how is it today? How is the political scene today, and how does it look, with all this happening around the country?
Come see, sir. Not good, not bad. But I think at the end, it favors my party.
And your party is?
APC.
Oh, really? It favors your party?
Yes, it favors my party.
You are happy, or are you happy that your part, that the crisis is going in the other parties, and yours is still
not really
pretty?
Happy. Being someone who is interested in seeing democracy flourish, and then advocating for its sustainability, there are cracks and there are indicating threats that democracy is threatened. And then
threatened? What do you mean by that?
When I say democracy is threatened, the survivability of democracy is on the ability of a party on power and then opposition to work side by side so that there will be check and balance. But in the event where parties that have lost out of power or that are struggling to take over power grapples with instability and then lack of moral, morally working together, they become scattered or in disarray, so to say, then democracy is threatened, because when you don't have the resilience to withstand the pressure of not being in power, when you don't have the conscience of, or the ability to move your party from point A to point B until you are able to consolidate or take over power and consolidate, then democracy has become a joke.
Yeah, but let me just, I want to take you on this, because we see the PDP, whom you wrestled power from in 2015, that's your party.
Yeah.
Okay, we see the PDP, which actually is a legacy party of Nigeria, because if you look at the trajectory of the PDP, it has come a long way from the old MPC, whatever, NPN, NRC, and to the PDP. In fact, some people even call it the party of Nigeria. I differ. Some people may say no, but the fact is, the PDP, from whom you wrestled power in 2015, is now virtually gone. And are you happy with this?
I'm not.
Why are you not? Why are you not happy?
As much as I like to, I say I have mixed feelings about what is happening in the country, especially in our political atmosphere, because PDP that have enjoyed the federal government for 16 years, they have, even as we speak today, they are the only party that can boast of structure from top to bottom. They are the only party that can tell you they have structure not missing in any corner of Nigeria.
But so far it appears that...
But now, that is what we are talking about. The lack of resilience to withstand, opposition, government, the government in the party in power. The PDP coming down to 2015 when they lost, ordinarily they should have find a way to hold back to their party members, form a formidable, try and bring up all the smaller parties around them, and then hold the government, at every given time based on policies advocacy and then to ensure good governance is taking place.
But there are a lot of Nigerians, in fact, Nigerians in the majority, who would say that the PDP was marked down deliberately for destruction. Seeing the way that, one of the APC government under President Tinubu appointed a very prominent PDP personality whom it gave the task to dismantle the PDP. Some of the crises going on in PDP cannot be said that the PDP is not resilient enough to withstand them. It's a question of semantics, really. But the issue is that we all know, and everybody knows, that PDP was marked down for destruction because the APC government under President Tinubu did not want the party to survive enough to be able to give it the kind of opposition that you're. In other words, your party really didn't want the PDP to exist.
I wouldn't accept that, because it is. I don't think there is anybody who was on gunpoint to accept defecting into the PDP, into the APC, or to abandon the PDP and not go anywhere. Because if you look at the defections that started from the South-South, were predominantly, in fact, were PDP state at birth. Those were states that their people knows nothing about any other party apart from PDP from 1999, when we came back for democracy for the fourth time. And there was no issue whatsoever, particularly in states like Delta. No issue. There was no threat. If you maybe you can look at the former governor Yakowa, who was the former deputy governor to Peter Obi, to Atiku Abubakar, and say there were stories here and there that he is under the EFCC net for cases of corruption, he is threatened. But even at that, a politician who...
It's not Yakowa, sorry, it's Okowa.
Okowa, Patrick Okowa. If a politician who knows his ways, a politician who was governor twice, and at some point vice president, yes, they did not win, but he deputized Atiku Abubakar in the 2023 general election, will ordinarily negotiate his stay in his party, at the same time take care of whatever issue that is coming up between him and the federal government. But to give up on the mandate that is trusted on you by your people, I don't see that as an intrusion of the government of the day. I look at it as the weakness of the people in the party, because there is no way you look at Governor Wike, whom I'm sure you are alluding to, and then put together every other personality in PDP that we know and say he is bigger than them, or he is the one causing. Okay, finally, that the PDP wanted to make a statement. We saw it happen in Ibadan. They finally, and INEC has identified them.
But how long did they get to arrive? How long did they arrive at that?
What I'm saying is, there were the weaknesses from the PDP leadership and stakeholders was what held the party backward. But eventually, when they wanted to make a statement, when they were tired, we saw the determination in people like Bala Mohammed, in Sheyi Makinde of Oyo State, and we saw how these people came together and said, look, it's enough. Damagun, with the other National Working Committee members, they sat down, agreed, hold a convention, and said, okay, these people that are troubling us, gone. We now have a new chairman, we now have, and that was a statement. So imagine if that kind of boldness, that kind of leadership style would have been the one from day one, 2015, when they lost power. Perhaps they would have been giving the APC a shoulder-to-shoulder kind of movement. So in effect,
you are saying that what happened, or what has been happening within the PDP, with the obvious, activities, anti-party, so to speak, activities of Minister Nyesom Wike was that the PDP should have at that time done a lot about him. But what about the intrusion of Wike, who really was on a mission to ensure that PDP did not take those decisions, considering the fact that he was in bed with the APC government, having been made a minister. Don't you think that also was a factor?
I wouldn't also, yes, it can be a factor, but I am telling you, if the PDP was strong enough, if the PDP was determined enough, if the PDP had stood their ground enough from day one and say, look, we lost out, but we are good to go, Wike wouldn't have had the chance to do what he's doing today. But there was a window, and that window is the collapse in the leadership structure of the PDP. Nobody could talk to anybody. It started with Uche Sekondu. Later, it translated to the Magoon. People were beginning to, you were having different camps. Everybody was troubling everybody, and they were scattered. And the best way, to make sure people lose is to get them confused. So whosoever is doing that is getting his result positively. However, I am telling you, they have done something good. I appreciate it democratically. I am not in the PDP, but I appreciated what happened in Oyo State. Yes, the guys that lost out are fighting back. I think Wike, who and 13 others, I think they call them Wike, Anyanwu, and 13, Wike, Anyanwu, and 11 others are fighting back, which is okay. It is their right to fight it back in the court of law, but eventually the law will decide. So in democracy, I think what we should be looking at is building democratic systems that will be sustainable with ideology in Nigeria.
But long before this moment that PDP arrived at in Ibadan, there were accusations, very strong accusations, that the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was actually working to ensure that opposition parties do not surface. For instance, not only PDP, we saw what was happening in the Labour Party, we saw what is now happening with Accord Party, and we saw what's happening with ADC. We saw quite a lot of things. These things cannot be coincident.
I don't know the conspiracy you people are driving from, but for certainty, I tell you this. It is a game of strategy and tactics. And it is
to destroy the opposition party?
Not to destroy the opposition party. To make sure you win. And how you go about it, so long as you have not done anything illegal. Have you seen an APC member openly? What is in the hidden, I don't know, I cannot talk about it. But have you seen an APC member openly campaigning for the destruction of other parties? I will tell you no. So if there is any other party that is confused, and that is why I've been attributing it since to weaknesses in the party structure.
All the 4 or 5 parties?
Yes, of course.
The same thing happened, the same affliction on them?
I can't really, I don't know what you want me to say, but it really doesn't, it's a confusion in the party.
Really?
Yeah.
Why don't you have the same confusion in the APC?
No, because we are consolidating. Rather, instead of the confusion, we are winning. But I tell you, I am not totally in agreement with defections from every other party back to the APC. That I disagree with, because if it continues down the line, democracy is threatened, which is a fact. Because if we resort to a one-party system, imagine a 2027 that will come where the contestation will be APC and nobody. Would that be democracy?
But let me
because we saw what is happening in Cameroon. We saw what has happened in Tanzania. We saw, these are states, these are countries that democratically, are threatened. And we are surrounded by Gulf of Guinea nations, whom today majority are now military ruled. Democracy is toppled.
What I want to say is this. Now let's look at, you are trying to contest the fact that somehow the witch cried and the baby died the following morning. Now look at what's happening with Accord. The Accord party has been quiet all this while, no issues, no nothing. Suddenly when the governor of Osun State, Adeleke, decided to jump to Accord party, then something happened. We saw the same thing happened also with the Labour Party, Abure and
where did he jump from? He jumped from the PDP, right?
Yes.
So now if he jumped from the PDP to the Accord party, and the next day you saw somebody sponsoring another person in Accord party to hold him to ransom, so to say, why won't you attribute it to the party he left, which is the ruling party in Osun State? Instead, you are pushing it to the APC. Why won't you do that?
No, but I mean, it's an accusation thrown in the open, and we've seen such tactics with other political
and
parties.
It looks like the APC more of than the PDP.
Exactly, because PDP, for all practical purposes, is comatose now, almost on the point of death.
But
it could not, for instance,
not in
manufacture. Well, everywhere,
not in Osun State,
because this sort of thing can only be mustered from a higher power, and that could only be APC.
But some nationals are powerful too. So we know governors have their own power to the extent that they are regarded as presidents too. But
let me just tell you.
I look at it as in the case of what do you call him? The governor of Osun State. Can you please help me? Adeleke.
Yeah.
I look at it. Yes, it's a struggle of survival. There is so much. The forces around the 2027 in Osun State certainly has threatened Adeleke's second term, because we all know how competent, how accepted, how loved is the National Secretary of the ADC in Osun State.
That's Aregbe Sola.
Yes, Ogbeni. We all know how powerful he is. And we know the APC wouldn't want to lose out, because now they have some kind of national support from the president. And then again, other party people that have defected back to the APC, that the consolidation is there to look at. So anybody who will emerge as the primary ticket holder, will also stand a chance. So Adeleke is feeling completely threatened. And more so, like you said, I agree, the PDP is dismantled. Who will he cry to? Who will support him? But again, running to the Accord Party, will that be a solution?
Well, that's what he thinks. And suddenly when he came to Accord Party, then somebody who has been sleeping.
And I think his former party is after him, not my party.
No, I don't think so. But anyway, let's cast our mind back to 2015 when APC came to power.
Yeah.
And the move towards, challenging the PDP at the center, which resulted eventually in defeating the PDP of President Goodluck Jonathan. We never saw the PDP at that time playing this kind of games with the opposition. They allowed the opposition to state their case. They allowed the opposition to even go around the country to consolidate itself and to pose a strong challenge.
I don't think that was the case.
So, but again,
because I remember
the government in power. Let me go.
Yes.
The government in power at that time did not put those booby traps.
There were.
But now, and if there were, they were not as they were at least.
In fact, they were even worse.
No, I don't think
because
so.
Except if we go to 2026 and we begin to see something different. But as far back as 2013, people who opted for opposition in the PDP suffered so much so that we have earmarked some people exiting Nigeria as if only Goodluck Jonathan has returned for a second time. Because we had, remember the 5 Gs, the 5 governors, Rivers, Kwara, Kano, Sokoto, and my state, Adamawa State. Governor Nyanko, Governor Konkoso, Governor Amechi, Governor Abdul Fattah, and then Ali Wamako. The 5 of them. At a point, they were using their cars to travel from one state to the other because they don't have access to airport, neither do they even have access to planes.
But nonetheless, their party.
And we saw the kind of disorganization Amechi faced in Rivers State, despite sitting as the governor, because of the influence of the First Lady, where if you remember, the police commissioner Umbu,
Yeah.
that was completely disobeying the orders of the chief security officer of the state. So, and that was PDP at work to the opposition. But eventually, they were very tactical. They whipped their own sentiment, and that's politics. And people subscribed into it, and Goodluck Jonathan became the devil, and 2015 was easy. He was thrown out.
No, but then let's look at what really happened in those days. The party in power then was not targeting the party. The opposition party. Yes, certain elements in the opposition were being targeted, but the party itself, that's the opposition party, APC, in fact, right under the nose of the PDP government then, they allowed the coalition guys to get together.
Maybe they underestimated them.
No, they didn't. But they saw that, look, we need to have democracy. And for us to have democracy to flourish, we need to have opposition. And of course, even though they didn't want to lose power, they allowed the APC to form, to the coalition to get together, form, and then ready to challenge for power. But in this case, right from day one, all the opposition parties have had one issue or the other. But you can't tell me that this is a coincidence.
But have you not seen the government of the day allowing the movement of these parties that call themselves coalition? They disturb nobody. El-Rufai is going about doing his thing. Atiku is going about doing his thing. And in fact, they have abandoned the party they later registered, which is ADA, and they are now in ADC. You know, Amechi is now. Have you seen the government threatening? The only people you can say were threatened or arrested, or in one case or the other, or in the EFCC net, which are the 4 ministers we have seen in the Buhari administration, in Gige, Malami, Hadi Sirika, and who was the 4th person. And these are people with clear cases of corruption.
And Tambuwal.
No, I have not seen Tambuwal in the list.
Tambuwal was also,
but he wasn't a minister. He wasn't a minister in Buhari's.
But he was an influential member of. Well, he wasn't. Yes, but
I'm talking about the Buhari's ministers. They are under the EFCC. Okay, Buhari has Malami has cases of funded terrorism in his state, and there are investigations. There are charges against him. He's on it with the federal government. Likewise in Gige, likewise Hadi Sirika. Though these are few people. But apart from that, politically, I have not seen any deliberate effort from the APC to undermine the opposition, to the extent that they were able to form a coalition. El-Rufai, because he has nothing to answer to the federal government, was he arrested? No. Was he taken to the EFCC? No. Were there cases against him in court? No. So for those that were arrested, clearly they have their own cases to answer, and they should do so. Do you understand? So for me, I know we have not gotten it right politically. We are on the way. We'll get it right. Yet there are a lot to be done.
But the feeling is that the way the government is going, very soon there are indications that some of the top opposition people would also face the same people. Listen, because this government has shown its proclivity to shift the goalpost, and it's not, as you said, you believe that as you said, that the opposition is still free to move, but to move around and canvass and do all it can.
I think when
but we should also not forget that the opposition has also, the APC has also threatened one way or the other, using some kind of powers to it.
I don't know about that, because when you say threat, from whom and where? From the government, of course. There
were statements credited to some of the officials of the government, of the party and of the government, saying that, look, making veiled statements to opposition figures, that some of the statements they've been making are against against the nation, or against the conduct of public conduct, and this may, for instance, make them liable to things like treasonable, treason.
Maybe with specifics, I can answer. But when it is a random statement thrown, I don't know.
There was a statement credited to
by who and to who?
Credited against former Vice President Atiku Abubakar when he made those comments about the threat by the Americans to come in here, and there was also a threat by a statement from Bayo Onanuga, the president's chief spokesman, wherein he said that a statement credited to the PDP chairman when there was that fracas at the PDP secretariat, when he said, look, Mr. Trump, come to Nigeria, and he threatened that was treasonable.
Yeah.
Not even forgetting that the same president, our own president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, at one point during the time that he was in opposition, said that he never believed in the unity of Nigeria. So how do you juxtapose these contradictions? It's okay for the APC to say things when it was in opposition.
It's not. With all honesty, it's not. And if there are facts about state excesses, those statements, those kind of statements that are...
But I'm giving you
I understand. I will tell you right away, it's undemocratic, it's uncalled for, and it shouldn't have been said by anybody in the government, because democracy has come to stay. We are not willing to let go. We have to get it right, and we are going to do it for everybody in Nigeria. So if Bayo Onanuga made this kind of statement, attributing it to anybody or dragging it to kind of some kind of treason, then it is wrong, because they have the right to express themselves.
Yeah, but he said it, and he was not censured. Nobody called him to order. The president did not call him to order.
And that is wrong. With all honesty, that is wrong, and it's undemocratic. And we, as a younger generation that is looking up to a country, Nigeria, and if we really want it to survive, then we have to condemn it. And these are some of the things we have to check for democracy, to really, get to stay and stay properly. So really, that's wrong, and I don't support it at all.
Okay, well, this session will also talk about the North. As you can see now, the North, one of the, arguably the biggest political power bloc in the country, is now reeling from a number of issues, insecurity, whatever. On top of that, we have the issue of Northerners, or the Northern political, bloc, feeling alienated. They are seeing a lot of things happening. Some top Northern personalities have been, have beaten the dust, so to speak. I can give you names. I can give you El-Rufai. I can give you the name of Ganduje. I can give you the name of what do you call him, the Badaru, the governor of Jigawa State, and a number of us, and some other people. In fact, let's go to the statement credited to the former Vice President Atiku, which he says, look, the government is using EFCC to actually, clamp down on opposition figures. And that in the case of Malami, for instance, all that is happening to him now is because the government does not want him to stand up and contest for governorship in Kebbi State. And the same thing with Timi Silva in Bayelsa.
Exactly, he was the other minister I'm trying to talk about.
Yeah, so what I'm talking about now is, can you just think this, are you saying here in all honesty, with conscience, saying that the government of President Bola Tinubu does not have a hand in what is happening? It's not a conspiracy anyway. We see it happening.
Politically speaking, these guys that becomes minister to every political dispensation, in one way, whether it was Buhari or now Tinubu or it was Goodluck Jonathan, because the system in Nigeria generally is broken. And there is no dispensation that does not have ministers who have or abused their offices.
And it's also in this administration.
Yes, it is in this administration. It is. Now, for example, I can tell you I'm not comfortable with the Minister of Finance, who has kept the payment of contractors now for years and is resulting to so many. If I'm the one, I'll fire him. I'm not comfortable with the Minister of Defense, Minister of State for Defense. If I have my way, he will leave office this night.
And what's happening to Betta Edu?
No, I'm coming. Yes, she has stepped down and somebody has been appointed. But the only thing that personally, this is my opinion, I'm not comfortable with is, where is the case? Now, I can tell you this, and that is why I said, exactly, but this thing has been happening from one government to the other. Yes, it's not an excuse that it should happen in this government, because expectedly, the president is more democratic. Because if you look at from 1999, Obasanjo was a military man, fresh from prison to presidency, mentality military, straight to presidency. 8 years, you expect lapses, but he did his best. Goodluck Jonathan, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, a civilian, a little bit of a Democrat, but more of a technocrat. Took over 2 years, you can't judge him. Goodluck Jonathan, 6 years, an educationist, did his best. A lot of things happened in this country. Like I said, he was thrown under the bus. Now, we had President Muhammadu Buhari, a retired general, 8 years, but look at what happened. We had ministers, for the first time in the country, staying for 8 years, abusing their offices, not doing anything. We see Chief of Army Staffs staying for 6 years. We saw monies withdrawn from the direct excess crude account. We have seen a lot. Now, you don't expect, there are cases of this Niger, was it Niger Air or what, about the Nigerian airline, which you tied it down to the Hadi Sirika, this thing. You heard about the investigation that Wike made reference to in one of his appearances, saying how Malami hid it because it concerns some people who were loyalists to President Muhammadu Buhari, like his colleague, like his successor or predecessor, Rotimi Amechi in Rivers State. So these are people, you look at Timi Silva, the case of the coup is tied down to his neck. Look at, so if there are no government.
But the government said there was no coup. So why should you say that? Why,
no, when I say, why will you say there was no coup? So what happened to the arrest of the military officers that are still on detention?
Yeah, but even the military itself came out and said there was no coup. Emphatically, they said they were being investigated over disciplinary issues.
But there are officers still.
So how did it become a coup?
But there are officers still on detention, and it is on coup.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm hearing for the first time,
no,
because the military.
You should not be hearing it for the first time, because it's all over the country. Even on the street, you will hear it.
Yeah, on the street, but from the authorities.
Yes.
The authority that...
And I'm not the authority, but I'm telling you from what I have heard.
We should believe you and not believe the authority that said that there was no coup.
But I am telling you, there are insinuations, not really insinuations, there are informations all over the country that there is coup. Because now, officers are still held.
So the military was lying then?
It could be.
Oh, really?
It could be. I can't really say that, but it could be.
Anyway, let's go back to the issue of the North. If you take a random sample or you go around the streets in the North, everywhere in the North, Kano, Kaduna, Abuja, everywhere, in fact, across the country, there's a feeling of a lack of gratefulness and that the government of Tinubu is doing to the North. Because, okay, the North can claim that it gave Tinubu 60% of the votes that brought him to power, and that they're seeing quite a lot of things happening that appears to look like Tinubu has now gotten what he wanted from the North, and now the North can jolly well go and jump over a cliff. So, and then Tinubu is also appearing to say, look, I've gotten what I want, and I'm trying to get my 2027 with or without the North. And so for that reason, my policies, economic policies, political policies, and all kinds of things can, the North can go to hell. So now the feeling in the North is that they have been neglected, they have been betrayed by this government, and, and then they also see situations where senior northern elements have been, threatened, so to speak, and a number of things happening. Do you think the North is justified?
Yeah, to an extent, I will tell you, I'm speaking now as a northerner. The concerns of the northern Nigeria, particularly the less privileged, the ones that really voted, because in every equation there are those that really voted. They voted in the belief that this is also their government. Yes, there is that concern in the northern Nigeria, and they have not seen anything. In fact, to an extent, some people will tell you they are being punished because they went for the Muslim ticket. And with the complaints of some people who also went to the United States and reported the country on a cases of genocide against the Christians,
alleged
genocide that led to the labeling of the country as a country of particular concern, which is now directly affecting the leadership of the northern Nigeria, from the traditional institution to some of our elites, and then even destabilizing the region, because any region that is on a standby of what will happen next in the security-wise is not safe for anything. It's not a safe corridor. Nobody will come there for investment. Nobody will go about doing their market activities. So the entire region. So that concern of the northern Nigeria that have been left alone, to an extent, I would say, is justified, because they expected appointments, but even at that, to be fair to the government, if not for the light changes we saw happen between Badaru and CG Musa, who is also a northerner. But if you look at the core north, the majority of the votes from the northern Nigeria came from the Muslims that voted the president, 60-something
and that
votes.
is where the complaints are coming.
And I'm coming. And yes, there was a thick line that was drawn in 2023, where we saw in the northern Nigeria, it was a complete block vote from the Muslim, and there was another block vote from the Christian. That thick line has really introduced something new into our democratic space and is not really spelling good for the region. Now, and that has gradually given room for this issue we are facing now today in the north, which is this case of alleged genocide on the Christians. Because arguments here and there, and anybody justifiably that would tell you he's a northerner or has really lived in the north and know it in depth will tell you the killings has nothing to do with religion. And in fact, on every sincerity, people that are killed the most are Muslims. So this issue of there's a genocide against the Christians, where is it coming from? But I will tell you, like we are talking about politics, there is a new equation we are seeing emerging politically. And that equation is either dismantling the northern bloc, because from 1999, the direction we take together in the north usually has nothing to do with religion. We come as a bloc. But now the introduction of these Christian votes that came in bloc in support of the Labour Party in 2023 has really changed the equation. So could it be that my party is looking towards the same equation, and that is why there is a total consolidation of power in the south, because power must remain in the south, and that led to the defections, so that the Christians will give their votes, the southern states will entirely give their votes, and the president will come back for a second time? Could that be the reason? If yes, and he's going to work for the party, but the president will emerge and do something and work as a president for Nigerians.
Yeah, but I want to refer you to developments within your APC and the government. Not too long ago, there were moves, clear moves, to remove, or rather to change the vice president, with whom the votes, I mean the Muslim votes were cast for the president. And there were insinuations that the vice president was going to be changed with a Christian, Christian candidate or Christian figure, to sort of balance up, because the Muslim ticket at some point became so uncomfortable, unbearable. Now they're saying, okay, look, vice president, we are going to have to give way to somebody from the Christian part of the north. And there are also speculations that also some of the governors from the northwest and northeast, and possibly, some people from the northwest or Muslim community in the north, somebody was going to be fingered for that. And eventually, of course, you know what happened in Gombe, and that, but there are still indications that is would be the case.
I doubt.
I
doubt if the president will change his vice president, because what would have ordinarily lead to the removal of the vice president, first of all, should be defined by his competence and loyalty. And from when they were sworn into office to date, the president is proud of his vice president. In fact,
so proud that when he travels abroad, he doesn't hand over power to him?
No, what I'm saying is, at a point, he even he expresses his total confidence on the vice president.
No, what I'm saying is,
the issue of not handing over power, that I cannot speak. I don't know what really happened.
Yeah, because if you look at what happened during Buhari, every time he's going out, he transmits power to the vice president.
Yes.
As the constitution,
yes,
as legal status, as enshrined.
Yes.
But in the case of Tinubu, we've seen him go out of the country for 2 weeks, sometimes more than that. That is enough threshold to say, look, I'm going for this law.
I wouldn't want to look at it this way, because the president has expressed confidence on his vice president. And then secondly, the insinuation that he would change him, I think to a large extent, I will tell you, if I am to give my vote on this, I will put it around 30-35%, because democracy is about number. The president wouldn't want to risk offending that bloc vote that voted him. Part of the reason he got that vote was not because he was Tinubu, was because Kashim Shettima was his VP. And I don't think he is going to risk that. Yes, managing every corner of your country politically to make sure people are okay. Yes, there is nothing like okay in politics, or at least manageable. If the Christians were complaining about having some appointments from the northern Nigeria, there's a Minister of Defense now. And if changing the VP will be a solution to this, I think the party will decide, the vice president will be part of the decision making, and if that stands and he is removed, and anybody in the northern Nigeria, whether Christian or Muslim, will be brought, to share the ticket with the president, I'm sure we in the APC will go with that. But I feel the president, after seeing, how competent his vice president is, he wouldn't, and he has not done so much to the north, and which is even why we are discussing this night that the northerners are complaining.
Yes, because if you sometime not too long ago.
But let me make a point so that, because the president has given some strategic appointments, for example, to the northern Nigeria, and I don't know how the relationship is going between ministers and president, particularly in this administration. But I tell you, Minister of Agric, Minister of Defense, not both of them now still northerners, Minister of Police. There are strategic ministries that today are managed by the northern Nigeria. Yes, in every administration, if you look at it, the president on seat.
Do you think the northerners
tend to
for the 60% votes that they gave?
I am not saying it's commensurate. I am not saying that, but I am telling you, the president has done something that ordinarily the ministers he has appointed from the northern Nigeria, if only they do their best, as they are supposed to.
But let me take you through.
Possibly we'll be seeing some result that shouldn't be raising these nerves.
Let me take you through some of the policies that this government has embarked upon, that the Northern Power Bloc is very, very apprehensive about. Certain, let's look at the central bank, for instance. Some northerners say, look, the presidency is transferring some of the most important departments and directorates of the central bank.
I'm not going to argue that with you. I personally condemn it.
That is one. Then some of the, projects that were allocated in most of the projects, in fact, 75% of the projects have been within the southwest. Even the Lagos Badagry coastal road to Sokoto, for instance, 3/4 of the projects are domiciled in the southwest. I'm not making it up. These are things you can find in the domain.
Of course.
And even appointments. There are 4 ministers from one state in the southwest,
which is wrong.
And then there are a lot of other things that have been done. In fact, some of the nominal role of most of the appointments, the MDAs, you can even name them, they're there, all given to the southwest. And a lot of northerners feel, Tinubu lost in his own state, Lagos, and he lost in his other state, Osun State. But in some parts of the north, we gave him earth-shaking votes. And this is how he's... And then there are also insinuations that Tinubu does not, take northern elders or northern people into confidence in terms of some of the kitchen things he does in his government. And then there are also issues like, there are insinuations, but that Tinubu is flying a kite in trying to, dismantle the Northern Power Bloc, so that by the time he, goes to 2027, he may not need the North, and the North will now would not exercise the political power that they used to get him to power. And so a lot of apprehensions in the North. And people are saying Northerners cannot survive out of government, that once they are out of government, they start getting apprehensive. They are parasites. They cannot do anything to survive, only rely on government. And that now that the feeding bottle of government has been taken out of their hands, they are now feeling apprehensive. They're making a lot of things.
I really want us in the northern Nigeria to first of all look inward, because we have seen during the time of President Obasanjo, he has done well generally as a president, but he did it also more to the south. I mean, southwest. And then partly southeast because of the relationship of his wife to the southeast. And then we saw...
Which of his wives?
The Patience.
She's from South?
No, I know she's from South, but I mean she has some relationship with the Southeastern, and they got a lot of appointment during Obasanjo's time. Now we know what happened during Goodluck Jonathan's time, and the South got it with him. So there is this sentimental attachment from every president to a particular region. But that being said, I just want to really focus my attention on what the North should be doing. Yes, anyhow is your opinion how you define the relationship, or what the president has been doing to or what he has not done at all. But my question or my concern is, what has our leaders been doing to the northern Nigeria? I'm coming so that you also...
I really want to ask this question. Do you think that the North, with all this happening, should still vote your party and President Tinubu in 2027?
Yes.
Why?
Very good. Because he is the president who, when he removed subsidy, he gave money back to state governors. And that is the point I was going before you stopped me. Now, we have these cases of banditry that seems to put everything on hold, particularly in the northwestern Nigeria, where our governors are the chief security officers, and they have some certain powers to exercise, but they decided to work in isolation. Dauda is doing something separate. Jigawa is doing something different. The same thing with Kebbi and Sokoto, and likewise Katsina. Everybody, they are all operating in their own ways personally, and they refuse to come together, and the banditry has refused to go. But that being said, look at what is happening. The conspiracy, it's not even a conspiracy, a fact which is also verifiable. A former colonel who was commissioner of security in Sokoto State, that was accused of going to bed with bandits, and at some point even triggered the bandits to massacre people in villages that led to about 79 deaths, was removed as a commissioner, now rewarded as director general in one of the government parastatals. The North is reckless to an extent, and we should not be doing that.
Okay.
When we don't hold internally, when our leaders don't hold internally, and wherever we have issues, we just start looking at the federal government. Look at what the Southwesterners did. I always want to make reference with this. Amotekun was a complete architecture of this Southwestern Nigeria. They did not care about what is happening in the North.
Okay,
they came together
I think we have to drop the anchor here. It's a very, very engaging topic and very compelling, but we have to drop the anchor here because time is not on our side. I wish we had more time to discuss, to break this things down, because it's getting interesting. Well, viewers, this is all we can take on this topic, and we would have wanted to go ahead, but we don't have enough time. But I would say thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of the program, and we have to stop here, and then tomorrow we continue with other programs on this TV station. Thank you very much for being part of the program.